Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And wow, it's starting to become very, very messy in the ANC ranks. And I really think this could be the end of the ANC as we know it, because there's so many senior players who are so deep in the trough and so corrupt that it looks like something could actually start happening. And right at the top of the pile, or near the top of the pile, of course, is Ace Magashule, which is quite extraordinary because on Tuesday, Ace Magashule said the following. He said the ANC would deal decisively with corruption and restore the integrity and values of the party. Isn't that quite extraordinary? I'll tell you why. Because another report's come out where Magashule is clearly shown to be corrupt. And this is backdated a few years, but when he was in the Free State, and the way he ran that province is quite disgusting. Now, let me just tell you what I'm talking about here. The Zondo Commission, a businessman confirms documents linking Magashule to kickbacks was created on his computer. Whether you receive an amount of money for yourself or for others, it still qualifies as an offence in terms of the legislation. This, according to the head of the legal team at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, Advocate Paul Pretorius, Senior Counsel, who spent most of Tuesday morning detailing in a lengthy opening statement what the Commission is set to hear relating to alleged corruption in the Free State. Centre stage was a 255 million rand asbestos audit project in the province. A joint venture between engineering consultancy firm Blackhead Consulting and Diamond Hill Trading, 71, scored the contract in 2014. Former Economic Development MEC Magashule previously told the Commission former Premier Ace Magashule had received 10 million rand for helping to facilitate the project. That's not a bad deal. That's about 5% of the value of the contract. Not quite, but it's getting close to 5%. Nice kickback. Dakwani then presented a spreadsheet from the company that was awarded the asbestos audit project, which was termed Cost of Business Schedule. According to him, the amount reflected on the schedule was paid as gratification in relation to the contract. Several initials or names in the schedule were noted as TZ, TM, AM, we know who that is, OM, MEC, MZ, Steve, JT, and Diedrichs. Pretorius said investigators were tasked to probe the allegations following Dakwana's testimony. On the initials AM, Pretorius said, "We know the former Premier initials were AM, Mr. Magashule, and we know that there's been evidence of certain payments made to his office for present purpose, but the legislation is clear. Whether you receive an amount of money for yourself or for others, it still qualifies as an offence in terms of the legislature." He went on to say, "The legislation is quite clear that whether you receive the benefit and the gratification for yourself or on behalf of others, students studying, it falls foul of the legislation, and no doubt the law enforcement agencies will pay close attention to that in due course." That evidence had been traversed already, but its implications in terms of the legislation need further details from you. Pretorius said Blackhead Consulting's owner, Edwin Soddy, was interviewed and had given much of the evidence necessary to, at the very least, determine the authenticity of the document. It's not a fabrication, it's a real document with real information. Pretorius later said, Soddy says that document was attached to emails he received from Mr. Mpambani. He says that he acknowledges receipt of directions from Mr. Mpambani to deal with this person's highlighted in yellow, although he denies making any such payments. He acknowledges that it was prepared on his computer. He says Mr. Mpambani worked in his office, but he would not speculate about the initials, save the concession in relation to JT, Mr. Jimmy Tao. He gives an explanation that he appointed Mr. Jimmy Tao as his business development manager and after Mr. Tao's retirement from football, but he does acknowledge that Mr. Tao received money generated from the profits in that particular contract. Mpabani is understood to refer to Ignatius Ego Mpabani, who was shot and killed in a suspected hit in June 2017. Mpabani was later linked to the controversial asbestos contract. Pretorius said there were severe financial transactions investigated by Commission investigators in relation to the initials TZ, allegedly Tabani Zulu, a former government Director General. There is no evidence at present available to the Commission of a single amount of 10 million rand being paid. He added some amounts were traced back from bank accounts of Blackhead and Soddy to a motor dealer in Pietermaritzburg. The first payment made reflected in the accounts of Blackhead to a TZ. The initials TZ were identified, and that payment was recorded on the receiving end of the motor dealer in Pietermaritzburg as Mr. Zulu. Pretorius said the money was used to buy a Maserati for a Mr. Nduli. He added Sodi had paid an amount of 600,000 rand to the dealership, and it again reflected on the recipient's side as TZ. The amount was used as a deposit for a Range Rover bought by Zulu, said Pretorius. The explanation was that Zulu owns an entertainment lounge. Pretorius also mentioned a payment made to T. Mokeshi for the purchase of a property. Mr. T. Mokeshi, believed to be represented by the initials TM, is alleged to be Nshimochi Tim Mokeshi, the former head of department of the Free State Human Settlement Department, who signed off on the asbestos contract. So, he says, an amount of 650,000 rand is paid via a trust through attorneys, which is used to buy a property in which, according to the investigators, it is where Mokeshi lives. But the explanation of Mokeshi says this was a joint business venture, and he and Sodi became friends and decided to invest in a property. And there is an agreement which shows how the income from rentals should be divided, and whether this is all genuine or not can be investigated. But what is interesting is that a person involved in a grant of a tender of 250 million rand, the accounting officer cannot be in business with the recipient. But you can see how Ace Magashule's name is all over the place when it comes to scamming or looting money from tenders. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.